Patch 10.2's changes are finally live, and we are going to be breaking down all of the important changes so you know exactly what to do to be at your best. Make sure you patch that like button, queue up on the sub button, and let's jump right in. First up, we've got changes to the edgy gunboy Aphelios. Now, I think a lot of us kinda saw this coming. Aphelios' damage went down across several of his weapons. Calibrum, Crescendum, and Severum all got nerfs. With his long-range damage going down and becoming less frequent, it looks like Aphelios is going to have a tough time contesting those high-range bot laners like Caitlyn. Even if Aphelios does make it out of lane, he's also seeing nerfs there too. The Crescendum nerf is actually a decent hit to his late-game damage. Not to mention, the nerf to Severum also impacts his ability to do damage very quickly. Really though, the heavy hitter is the nerf to Calibrum. It does less damage at all points with its follow-up basic attacks, and the cooldown is higher at all ranks. At this point, Aphelios is going to start approaching B tier if nerfs keep coming his way. He for sure loses out to Caitlyn in the early game now, and he'll struggle greatly against champions like Misfortune, Senna, and Jhin. Let's not forget about supports too. Aphelios' damage being lower means that he's going to have a hard time matching supports who have healing in the bot lane. Not only that, but him being immobile makes it hard for him already to play into hook champions and engage champions. He's going to be having a rough time on this patch. Another AD carry has found themselves on this list, and that's Draven. We haven't seen Draven changes for quite some time, but really the ones that he got now are pretty underwhelming. He got a buff to his ultimate at levels 11 and 16 when you rank it up again. This is kind of a problem because Draven is a champion who really relies on snowballing games with his passive gold. And because of that, usually this isn't going to impact you much. It just means that you're gonna win harder than you were winning before. This change isn't really going to affect you up until the 20-minute mark almost. That being said, in the games where you do snowball early but don't manage to end it really early on, this change will have you hitting a lot harder with your ultimate. 20 and 40% at ranks 2 and 3 is not a small amount. Don't forget that this can also hit people twice, so it's actually quite a bit of extra damage. Now the last AD carry on the list is Jinx. The change that she got is very tiny. Her passive now also procs whenever you help your team kill an epic monster. Epic monsters being Dragon and Baron, which means that this is really almost never going to go off, and even if it does, it's probably not going to matter at all. Despite this change meaning almost nothing, Jinx really didn't need buffs in the first place. She's actually pretty strong right now. With all the changes of the patch and a lot of champions going up and down in power, you're going to want to learn how to play as or play against a lot of the new champions that have come out and the champions who are currently dominating the meta. As the ranked season starts to pick up, you should absolutely go check out our website, GameLeap.com. We have tons of courses. If you want to learn champions, we've got courses for you. Maybe you have a champion pool the size of the ocean, but you're looking to improve at a specific role. We've got guides for you too. All of our content is made by challenger level players, and we are always looking to make more and better content to help you guys get to your next highest rank. Now let's talk about the changes to Karma. This champion was very powerful for a long time. Right now, she's basically sitting in the dumpster. Ever since Leona and Nautilus have really swung their way into bot lane, she's been having a tough time. She's gotten what appears to be relatively small changes. 10 damage on her Q and W at all ranks. However, it's important to remember that she hits these a lot, and they can hit multiple times. Over the course of the laning phase, these are going to add up a lot, especially against those tankier champions who are almost guaranteed to be rooted by her W. When you start taking 10 more damage than you used to every 7 to 5 seconds, it's going to add up real fast. Not to mention, she'll be able to shove waves faster too. Hopping in with a pretty significant change is Lulu. She got some very minor stat buffs with about 1 extra armor and 1 extra AD in the early game, and I mean, that's never harmful, but it's not really a big deal. What is a big deal is the change to her E, with the cooldown going down by 2 seconds flat. This means that at all points, Lulu is shielding more and dealing more damage. Not only that, but she'll also be able to use her E and Q together pretty much off cooldown repeatedly. With these buffs, you should definitely expect to see more Lulus in your games, and you might want to pick her up. She's very effective at dealing with those engage-heavy champions. Being able to shield a lot of the incoming damage, slow down the attackers, and potentially transform them into a squirrel is a very difficult combo to overcome, especially when the cooldown is even lower now. Speaking of the supports that Lulu can shut down, Nautilus is actually next on the list. But his nerf is actually really tiny and probably isn't going to matter very much at all. This is one of those, oh Irelia lost 5 movement speed patches. Nautilus is losing between 10 and 30 damage on his Q, which means almost nothing. At most, Nautilus hits his Q on a target twice in a single fight. This change is completely ridiculous for the amount of strength that he has right now. We've all seen the videos, or felt it ourselves, where a Nautilus support just solo kills the enemy jungler or mid or AD carry without taking any damage. Nautilus is literally Thanos levels of power right now. He just snaps and the enemy disappears. Losing 10 to 30 damage is gonna mean nothing at all. While the Nautilus nerfs seem tiny and are tiny, we're gonna be moving on to Kiana's nerfs, and this is actually pretty big. Kiana's W attack speed is dropping by 15%, only giving 5% at rank 1. This could actually mean that Kiana jungle is no longer viable. It might not seem that bad, but to give you some context, Nocturne's W gives him 20% attack speed, and that is the only reason why his jungle clear is good at all. If Kiana is losing 15%, she's going to seriously struggle clearing camps. It might not kill her in the jungle role completely, but it is certainly going to slow down her clear and make it less healthy. This leaves her open to a lot of other champions to abuse her in the early game. She might even end up so low that she just dies when she goes to gank. And if that's the case, it's going to be a problem, and we may no longer see her played in the jungle. Now we're going to switch gears back a bit to support again, because we're going to be looking at Sona. And this change, while it's definitely not going to make her meta, it is certainly a large buff. Sona's E now gives her 25% movement speed at all ranks. That is ridiculous. She could easily outrun anybody with mobility boots just by using her E. What's really holding her back is how dangerous her early game is. She is very squishy, and with the prominence of engaging supports in the bottom lane, it is incredibly risky for her to be played right now. If champions like Nautilus, Leona, and Thresh start becoming less powerful, I would not be surprised to see Sona surge to the top. With this bonus movement speed, she can easily outrun any of her enchanter counterparts and dodge a lot of their skill shots. If you are going to play her and try out her changes with her new insane movement speed, then make sure you ban Nautilus or Leona. Those champs are going to make your life an absolute nightmare in the early game. The next champion to get changes is Trundle, and he's actually gotten some really nice changes. A long time ago, he got some nerfs in these specific areas, and it looks like they're giving him back some of that power. He's getting some extra movement speed back to his W, and the slow on his E is increasing a little bit. These really just help him a lot all around. The movement speed is great and will speed up his clears just a little bit. Not only that, but his time to get to lanes and the ganks themselves are gonna be faster. On top of all of that, he can chase people down even better, and the ganks are stronger themselves because his slow is more powerful. These changes are all great and do help quite a bit, but the real issue is that Trundle is only prominent when there are lots of tanks in the jungle. He's really just not that useful when he's going up against somebody like Zigz or Kiana, where his ultimate doesn't really do all that much, and he can't really just auto-attack them a bunch because they either have ways to escape or hide. For Trundle to really come back, there's definitely gonna need to be a meta shift first. The Victor changes are actually almost nothing, and you just have the correct amount of mana now when you upgrade your Hex Core. That's it. I'm honestly surprised that Victor's been so poor for so long, but maybe in 10.3, Victor will make a comeback. Last on the champions list is Zigz. Zigz is getting damage on his Q, his W is knocking people back further, and the slow on his E is even heavier now. These changes seem small, but they actually could mean a lot. His Q has a very low cooldown, 4 seconds on its own when it's at max rank, and that 10 damage is going to stack up really quickly. It also can significantly affect his ability to clear waves. The change to his W also seems minor, but it's actually pretty important. This means that it knocks people back further than a flash, which can be the difference between living or dying. The changes to Zigz E-Slow is actually also pretty big. It's just strictly stronger at all ranks and can make the difference between landing your Q or not landing it, or the person getting away or not getting away. Rounding out the patch is 3 item changes and a change to Rift Herald. First up, Cloak of Agility got changed to be only 20% crit chance instead of 25. This means that you're going to be slightly weaker before you complete the item, but you won't notice any change afterwards. Then Frozen Heart steps up by getting an extra 10 armor, and while Riot claims that they want it to be a go-to consideration against physical threats, it's really not going to change much. You're still only going to want to buy Frozen Heart when the enemy doesn't buy crit. Otherwise, Randuin's is just a better option. For those games where it is good though, it'll do even better. The last item change is on Stormrazor, and it's losing 5 attack damage, which doesn't seem like it's a lot, but you need to remember that the champions who buy Stormrazor have very large AD ratios. Caitlyn is a prime example. Her Q at rank 1 has an 130% bonus AD ratio, and her ultimate is a 200%. So combine the fact that it loses 5 damage on every auto attack and the damage across all abilities, and it'll actually make a pretty decent difference. And the very last change is to Rift Herald. Shelly is losing 1,125 health when it spawns, and that is not a small number. This lets you kill her maybe 10 or even 15 seconds faster than you could before. This is absolutely a convincing argument to taking her very early on, maybe even as soon as she spawns. Rift Herald doesn't just lose health early on though. The max health that she has is 2,000 less than what it was before. At that point in the game, it's not going to matter quite as much as an 1,000 health difference at like 8 minutes, but it's still going to matter. Overall, this patch had a lot of shakeups aimed at the bot lane. Tons of supports got buffed, and Aphelios and Draven got some changes too. The nerf to Agility Cloak and to Stormrazor also impacts quite a few of the top tier AD carries right now, and Kiana jungle is probably dead. To learn more in preparation for 10.2's release, make sure you go check out our website, GameLeap.com. We have tons of guides there, all made by challenger level players. We've got everything from generic guides all the way down to the nitty-gritty champion specifics. Season 10 has only been going on for just about 2 weeks now, and things are gonna really start picking up pace soon. So make sure you go check it out to give yourself the edge that you need to hit your next highest rank. If you made it this far, thanks for watching the whole video. What do you guys think of the new patch? Are you ready for Season 10 to really start picking up? I know I'm really looking forward to getting back into the swing of things. As always, my name is Ace Windstorm, and I will see you all later.